Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm here to talk with you this week about Vedic astrology, in particular, the transits that are occurring right now, and also their effect on you and your lives. I am experimenting with light this week, mainly because I think I looked a little washed out in the last video, and I'm trying to get the light just right. I apologize for this, the technical correction right now. And this is not the new camera. This is my uh, my in-computer camera. The new camera is talking to my computer, but I still have to get it linked, and so it's just been an ongoing process, but hopefully soon we'll be up and running. Um, the major point of this video is really to talk to you about what's happening planetarily, not about my equipment issues. And so let's move on to that. I'm going to have two charts to show you this week. I'm going to have the regular chart that I use for weekly predictions. And I apologize for the glare. I'm trying to correct that as much as I possibly can, just because I'm in a very sunny room, and the light tends to reflect all over the place. So basically, um, let's go to the charts. But I am going to talk to you about a very special New Year's chart. As I told you before, I look at several New Years. We're fully into the Chinese New Year, Year of the Rabbit. Uh, a lot of people out there should be getting like Phoenix uh, jewelry. Not every sign. If you want to talk to me about a personal consultation, I'll be happy to advise you. And there are certain things like the northeast corner of your house should be protected, um, especially against burglaries and thieves. And by doing that, you can put pictures of rhinos and elephants there. And there are also things called protection plaques, which you can get pretty much inexpensively, protection cards or protection plaques online. And the southeast corner is also, so essentially in feng shui, they tell you certain times, certain places you shouldn't be doing construction in various parts of the year. The Northeast is not considered good. The North is not considered good. Southeast is not considered good this year. Uh, but that doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means major construction. Okay. Uh, the the Southwest is a good area for career. North is good for career this year. This is just in general, and so I'm just giving you some free advice. West is generally not considered good for new projects, and South is actually considered to be the luck or success area, the financial prosperity area. So if you can enhance the southern part of your house or the southern part of your offices, so I'm in the Southwest, which is both obstacles and opportunities right now. Um, it's um, it's essentially considered to be a good place for making progress or making breakthroughs. So I think one of the things to keep in mind is all these things will vary based upon your individual chart. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have bad luck if you don't follow these rules to the letter, but those are the general directions you want to look at in order to strengthen for your chart this year. No, so let's go to Vedic astrology, um, which is actually my preferred mode, and we'll talk a little bit about Western, and then we'll talk about the signs, and then we'll do the astro mapping like we normally do. I am going to be doing some more interviews pretty soon, and hopefully within about a week I'll have Alita Donatella back back on the channel again to do predictions. I'll have my friend Jean Corezian back again. I'll have other people on as well. As you know, I'm working with Saparishi Astrology, so there'll be webinars that group will be hosting, which I will be a part of, and other fairly well-known astrologers will be a part of. And I think it's going to be an exciting year for all of us. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad year. It's an exciting year. So I'm going to look at two charts to start today. So this isn't really the big reveal on the chart, but this is what's called the Chaitra. And let me make sure this works, because this is really a problem with Zoom. All right, so I'm going to try it one more time just to make sure. So we have a Zoom up here. We have a chart with. All right, so this is a chart for March 21st, 2020, which is Lunar New Year in Indian astrology. Okay, so this is an interesting chart. One of the things that I've been harping on about the past few months, and this is backed up by Western astrology and backed up by most Indian astrologers I've seen, is there's going to be a lot of disruption to governments. Now, the rising sign is Leo, okay, for this chart. So I'm just going to give you a brief preamble to this. The rising sign is Leo. We have Rahu and Venus in the 9th house. And we have the Sun, Moon, debilitated Mercury, and Jupiter in the 8th house. So the 8th house is essentially connected with being locked away or being confined or being imprisoned. And we have Saturn in the 7th house. So this, to me, sort of connotes a lot of scandals connected with government officials. Some government officials perhaps going to prison. But this would also indicate a lack of power on government's part to really do anything or to make any effective changes this year. It doesn't mean they won't try. And I think one of the things we'll be looking at is, again, after March 21st, a year of technological innovation, which will be held back. Okay, and they'll be held back because of worries about economy, worries about social norms, because Saturn's aspecting Venus, and also who will gain. So it's interesting that we have had these recent sightings of Chinese balloons over both North America, and I saw it just recently South America, doing reconnaissance. So this actually also means governments are engaged in spying. And I think you're going to see a lot of communications disruptions over the next few months. It'll be starting now. It's not really something that's going to wait till March 21st. And you'll also see a lot of, so Pakistan's experienced problems. We've spoken about Pakistan before, but Pakistan's experienced problems with power shutdowns and all kinds of, I have to put these back on again for a second, and all sorts of delays in communications, and that's going to hit and become pretty widespread across the world. It's not really going to be confined to just places like Pakistan. So Pakistan, and the other thing that concerns me is we'll have again, not really unexpected, but rolling blackouts in most of the world. And again, the sad part about this is I can't help but think it was avoidable, but it's essentially this Rahu Venus conjunction in the 9th house leaders are trying to please too many people or placate too many people. Is so I'm not anti green. Okay, so let's I'll let I'll let let's that let's get that out of the way. But the problem I'm running into is this is really not the right time to be taking that kind of activity, especially with this power struggle between luxury and greed over here in this ninth house. And I also worry that since we have Mars and Mercury in angles from each other, that there'll be concerted efforts to essentially lie to people. And that lying I've been talking to you about for a few months now. I don't think a lot of governments around the world are being incredibly honest with us. We're not really seeing the whole story of what's happening. We never really see the whole story of what's happening. That's not unusual. But I think it's just one of those things that's really disappointing because uh, right now, um, and again, I'm not paranoid, but there's been basically a concerted effort to keep power concentrated in the hands of a few for really literally thousands of years. This isn't a new phenomenon. This isn't something where all of a sudden we had all these wonderful freedoms and equality and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden it was radically grabbed away from us. Most power in the world has been held by, or most centralized power in the world has been held by few people through, really as far back as memory goes. And it's not really a conspiracy. It's just when people gain things, they don't want to let go of it. And a lot of the things we're seeing are essentially what I would call it's jockeying for positions of power. That's normal human behavior. I think what makes it more detrimental right now is that we have so disavow yourselves of the notion that that most people, that most centers of power are here to help you. Some are, that's without question. They know their jobs rely on it. But and some people, many people do things for entirely humanitarian things. But this map shows a lot of circumstances basically beyond our control. A lot of with all these planets in the eighth house, a lot of what I would call secret shenanigans going on, and also a lack of control of them because Mercury is debilitated. Okay, so a lot of it's going to sneak out this year. I think that's good. In one sense, I think it's bad because the last time I saw configurations like this were in the 70s. And what happened was everybody got depressed. Instead of like seizing the opportunity to advance and move forward, they went, the system's rigged and I can't do anything about it. And so they just sort of like escaped and just went off into depression or went off into frenzies of overindulgence, which is not really helping anybody anyway. So I think it's going to be a challenging time for individuals over the next few years to pull themselves up and say, well, it's really a great time to take control because, or it's really a good time to exert control over your interests. And a lot of people are doing that now. Okay, so you see a lot of people who would have traditionally not spoken up, seizing a lot of opportunities. But it's also a time for other people to speak up and seize opportunities as well. Okay, so it's not really, again, like I said, it's not really, I don't view it as a bad thing that we're arguing and fighting. I view it actually as rather a good thing, because essentially what we're doing is we're clearing the air. And in the words of C.S. Lewis, which I have on a calendar next to me, you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. And I think it's never too late to change. It's never too late to correct course. It's never too late to reach an understanding. And I think that opportunity is going to present itself over the next 2 years to us. But if we just go like, well, they legalized marijuana in my state, and so I'm going to get high, I'm going to go in that particular direction, or I'm not going to get, or I'm just going to stay uninvolved with people. I think that's the wrong message we should pull from this. It's a really great time. Jupiter's in Pisces right now. It's a really great time to educate yourself. It's a really great time to, so this is the map for right now. It's a really great time to take back some degree of control, to work with people. And if you look right now, I'm doing this broadcast on a full moon. So let's look at this for the next week. I'm doing this broadcast on a full moon. You have Rahu in the first house, moons in the fourth house, sun's in Capricorn, which has to do with power. So we're talking about power or structure. Moon's in Cancer, how it affects the people. And Mars is in the second house. So there's a lot of Rahu in the first house. There's a lot of cloudiness in judgment, because Rahu and Ketu are kind of, they confuse things, so a lot of people are dissatisfied with they don't know what to do.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, short.
Listen, did you see Walter?
Yeah, I saw both of them this morning.
Oh, and they're okay?
Yeah,
All right. And it's cold out?
yes,
Okay, thank you, bye.
but just to let you know, Walter and Fredo are two cats that my wife and I take care of, and it's really a bad cold snap here, so that's where that came from. It's really petrifyingly cold, but they're still okay. They're cats that refuse to come in. So just to add a human dimension to all this stuff, a personal dimension to all this stuff, that's what that phone call was about. So we worry about them, but we can't. And again, this is something else to keep in mind. You can't rescue things or save things that don't want to be saved. So there are certain things, excuse me, that are beyond our control. And that first chart is sort of what we were looking at. We have but this chart in general, the chart that I'm looking at right now. So let's get back to the chart. My apologies. So we have a Jupiter Moon aspect. So that's what's making me so preachy today. Venus is behind Jupiter. Now, within about 2 weeks, we're going to see a Jupiter-Venus conjunction. Now, the only thing I'd advise about a Jupiter-Venus conjunction is we have this tendency to be, I would say, overly optimistic when Jupiter and Venus get together. So it's like, nothing can hurt me. Ha ha ha! I can take over the world. And sorry for the melodramatics, but basically that Jupiter Venus combination is kind of a little bit, it's overly optimistic. And it can also lead a little bit to inflated egos and things like that. So Vladimir Putin has that combination in his chart. Uh, I have that combination in my chart, unfortunately. So it's a little bit so it's a little bit too. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And whenever you get that kind of a combination, so we'll have like about a month and a half, roughly a month of that conjunction. Then Venus is going to hit Rahu in uh, in March, and we'll all start worrying about money. But for the next couple of weeks, we'll all be very conservative, a little bit scared because we're seeing some signs of war or some signs of aggression mounting up. And Mercury is in Jupiter's sign. Now, this is actually really, really interesting to me because Mercury's in the first house in the chart. It's in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of flow of what I would call indignation and anger, because Mars is still aspecting Mercury. But you're also starting to see some things come to light, and you're going to see more things come to light over the next couple of months in terms of bad behavior by politicians around the world. I was talking with a student in England the other day, and he was telling me about scandals connected with the government over there. This is going to be fairly universal, okay, over the next couple of weeks and into March. And it's also a good time to be really squeaky clean about your personal behavior. So try not to take shortcuts. Try to be honest with people. Oh, by the way, if you like what I'm doing, I should have said this earlier, please subscribe. We're over 500 subscribers, which makes me feel terrific, but we're never, I know we're near, close to where I need to be. And it's growing slowly but surely. So I know I have a loyal base, but I do want to expand it. And that'll allow me to bring in more resources and more and spend more time on this. But let's get back to that Venus Saturn conjunction. So that there's a lot of emphasis on ethical behavior. A lot of Vedic astrologers, I think, downplay Venus as being a corrupt planet and all this other stuff because of its function in the chart as the guru of the Asuras. But Venus overall is very, number one, is Saturn's friend. Number two, it's also a planet that's connected with truth to a very large extent, just as strongly as Jupiter is. But Venus uncovers things. It sees the hidden machinations behind things as a planet. Jupiter looks at what should be done. Okay. Venus looks at what is happening. So I think one of the things about Venus in the chart is that Venus will essentially tell the truth. It will, regardless of dogma, regardless of ethos, it's connected really with sciences and scientific discoveries. So Jupiter will say, okay, well, that's accepted wisdom. We know that that's true. And that's, so you need both, but you also need investigation. And Venus excels in investigation. And that Venus-Saturn conjunction is going to essentially take the wind out of a lot of the self-righteousness we reserved over the past couple of years on both sides. And like I said, I'm not saying that the left has been or left-leaning politicians have been sanctimonious, but I think they've been trying to exercise a lot of control, a lot of thought direction. So has the right. So I think a lot of that, you're going to see a lot more people think independently and saying, I don't know if I believe that one person. And that Venus-Jupiter conjunction will bring a lot of other things to light, and especially after March and even after March and into late April, a lot of big um, exposures of untruth that have been hitting us over the years. And like I said, it's not just going to be one side or the other. Both sides are guilty of it. But like I said, the press is very self-righteous now. They're being um, without really any cause, to be honest with you. And I think also, at least from the chart, uh, K2 and Libra, we're still going to have problems with economics over the next year or so, unfortunately. And with that Jupiter over here in Pisces, it's going to be this stream that we can hit a utopian society, but it never lasts. And I'm not saying that negatively. I think we're making small steps, but large leaps are not in the cars. Maybe when Pluto hits Aquarius, if I use a Western planet or a planet which is connected, it's used by some Vedic astrologers. Maybe when Pluto hits Aquarius, we'll see big changes, but we're going to see a lot of disruption over the next 20 years. And this is consistent with some of the transits of Rahu as well. Okay. So essentially, you get the same information from two sides. So let's look at your chart for this month. I went on a little bit longer than I wanted to about the world environment, and so let's go quickly through the 12 signs. Now, these signs haven't changed very much since last week. So essentially, Aries is concerned or obsessed about financial growth. It wants to make more money. And with the moon in the fourth house, home life will be a little bit calmer, a little bit more easy to access. K2's in the seventh house, so relationship life will still be kind of problematic for this sign. But Mercury's in the ninth, so there'll be more achievement and focus on goals. And with this Sun and Venus and Saturn combination in the 10th and the 11th house, a lot of career success and a lot of consultation with people, external people, rather than self-direction for the sign. But Taurus has Mars in the first house, so it's kind of a sexually charged placement, which is not bad. And Mercury's in, it rules the second house, is in the eighth house, so there'll be some hidden money coming for Taurus kind of quickly. Moon is in the third house. That's a good placement for the moon. The moon's in a good lunar mansion. So it's one of the best lunar mansions to do things in, and you'll see a lot of growth for this sign, especially in financial resources over the next month or so. K2's in the sixth, so it still has to be really careful about illnesses and infections. Seventh house, you have Mars as ruler of the seventh house in the first, so there's a lot of obsession about relationships, some potential for victimization in relationships. Mercury's in the eighth. We've already spoken about that. Sun's in the ninth. So again, a lot of growth on the home front. Good luck to family. And career life does look very, very good for Taurus. For Gemini, again, watch out for expenses. All signs are going to be spending too much this month. Gemini, again, some problems with relationship life, maybe relationship partners being a little bit dishonest with you or a little bit untruthful with you. There's a lot of thought about a lot of insecurity about relationships and about business partnerships. Moon's in the second house. A lot of focus on public image for this sign. K2's in the fifth. Children will still be a little bit problematic or unruly. Uh, Mercury's in the seventh house, maybe a change to her in relationships as well. I hope it's not dishonesty. I just don't want to see the sign go through any more nonsense. Sun's well placed in the eighth house. It does give some gains to family. Venus and Saturn are in the ninth house. Extremely good for financial growth, although slow. And career life is extraordinary for the sign. And a lot of fame, but again, too much expenses, too many expenses. For Cancer, Cancer's has the first sign that's actually not spending too much. But there's a lot of focus on Cancer this week. Cancer's having a relatively good time of it. It's has to watch out though for people who are helping it out. So there may be some sneaky partnerships for this sign. K2's in the fourth house, so some concern about family members, but definitely some fame and career, and definitely some luck in career for this chart. Some hidden legacies coming in, but slowly, and there may be some behind the scenes machinations which are affecting the sign adversely, but wealth will come to relationship partners. It's actually good relationship partners will dominate. And actually this next week for the sign looks very, very good. It looks like a lot of financial growth. For the sun's Lord Leo has sun in the sixth house. And essentially K2 being in the third is a very good placement. So it makes this sign somewhat fearless. Mercury's in the fifth, so it gives it good financial growth. Sun's in the sixth. This sign will hit a lot of enemies and will have to work a lot to make progress. Venus and Saturn relationship life will seem comfortable. Relationship partners will seem to be a little bit sad, but still comfortable. Jupiter gives good financial gains in the eighth house for the sign. Rahu gives some problems with bosses or some upset with bosses. And Mars in the 10th gives actually good career success. Again, watch out for expenses, especially on things that are connected with spiritual growth. It's actually a good month and week for saving money for this sign. But again, like I said, planets in the 12th house do give big expenses. For Virgo, Virgo has no planets in the first house lords in the fourth, and you have Jupiter in the seventh. So this is kind of a lucky combination for Virgo. So it'll still be misunderstood largely. I think this is one of the things I've seen with a lot of Virgo suns and Virgo risings. Have gotten a lot of charts readings from Virgos lately, and they're confused about both what they want and also how their communications and monetary future is going to progress. That Mercury in the fourth house is actually good for educational gains, good for family. Venus and Saturn are in the sixth, Sun is in the fifth. So again, children will cause expenses. Venus and Saturn in the sixth house, good for if the planet wants to, or if the sign wants to increase its financial growth through effort. Jupiter's in the seventh. It'll give good opportunities for new business partnerships, for new learning opportunities. Rahu's in the eighth. So again, some unseen or unexpected obstacles in terms of realizing your goals, but they'll pass relatively soon. Mars is in the ninth. So again, work is indicated, especially if you're going to school. Okay. Moon's in the 11th. Good week for gains, good week for financial gains. For Libra, Libra still has that K2 in the first house. It obscures a lot of progress. it can cloud judgment. It can make motives unfathomable. So there's been a lot of like mixed reports about what's coming out of Russia. I just happen to know Putin's chart, Putin's rising sign is here. And Rahu's in the seventh house, but there's also again, a lot of confusion over what he wants in particular. But let's get back to Librans in general. So Librans will have good communication skills overall, a strong sense of power and authority, and a Venus-Saturn conjunction in the fifth house. Essentially, right now, their luck is really, really strong. Jupiter's in the sixth, their enemies are strong as well, though, and that won't change really until around April. Mars is in the eighth, so the sign has to watch out for people trying to take advantage of it and trying to bring it down from behind. Moon is in the ninth house. In the 10th house, excellent for career, and there'll be a change in overall career direction this month. So this looks like a good week for this sign, but again, watch out for people trying to convince you not to follow your dreams. Scorpio has Mars in the seventh house, so it's that same Taurus Scorpio relationship. So Scorpio is going to be obsessed with relationship life and fixed on single partners. Mercury's in the second house. Good communication skills for Scorpio. Sun's in the third house. Good ambition and a lot of success in achieving goals, especially for the next 9 or 10 days. And Venus and Saturn are in the fourth house, so this indicates some slowdown in family life or some animosity in the family. Jupiter's in the fifth. It's generally a lucky placement for this sign. They'll be highly regarded as thinkers and speakers. Rahu's in the sixth house, so again, some unseen or difficult opponents. Moon is in the ninth, which is generally a good placement for this sign. There's a condition I spoke about last week called Bhattaka Yoga, which I think is misapplied to a very large extent in Vedic astrology. But the moon is supposed to be a Bhattaka planet for this rising sign. I don't think that's true. I haven't seen it in actual practice. So the moon in this sign actually works pretty well for this particular sign. So luck should be good for Scorpio for this week. For Sagittarius has Mercury, so it's going to be focused on career expansion. It's going to be focused on relationship expansion. Jupiter's in the fourth house, so this is a good combination for intelligence and gains through knowledge. This sign will be very forceful, very aggressive this week. Venus and Saturn are in the third house. A lot of slow persuasion is indicated from this sign. Mars is in the sixth, so there'll be fights with people who are close to you, people who are enemies. It'll become very obvious. Moon is in the eighth house. That's actually not bad because it gives good research skills to the sign. Ketu's in the 11th house. Again, Sagittarius likes a lot of people around it and enjoys, but don't trust your friends. For Capricorn has Sun in the first house, Saturn in the second house, so it will be focused on money. This will be a good money week for Capricorn. Jupiter's in the third house, so again, diplomatic skills are strong. Rahu's in the fourth, so some anxiety in the home front. Mars is in the fifth, arguments with kids. Moon is in the seventh, maybe some change in relationship life for this particular planet, but not necessarily in a bad way. And K2 is in the 10th, so a lot of focus on career. Mercury's in the 12th, so again, watch out for spending money on higher knowledge and also on bad habits, so don't drink. Saturn and Venus are in the first house for Aquarius. This is a great Raj Yoga for this planet. So that by Raj Yoga, a great combination. Venus is the best possible planet for this rising sign. So it gives it a lot of determination, a lot of perseverance, a lot of strength. Jupiter's in the second house, and that gives it money opportunities. Rahu's in the third. That gives it a lot of ambition. Mars is in the fourth. Again, some arguments with relationship partners. Relationship partners will block ambitions. Moon is in the sixth. So this gives a greater interest in work. Ketu's in the ninth. So some problems or some confusion with higher ups, and Mercury's in the 11th, so some financial gains, especially through communications and through past efforts. Sun's in the 12th, so again, watch out for spending too much money on relationship partners. Finally, Pisces has, I'm running out of time, Pisces has Jupiter in the first house, Rahu in the second, so it's going to want more money like Aries will, and it'll be driving in that particular direction. It'll be working towards it. Moon is in the fifth. Again, not a good placement for the sign. A lot of past efforts will be recognized. Ketu's in the eighth. That gives a lot of research, but an inability to see what's happening behind the scenes. Mercury's in the 10th. Good for changing careers and for career growth. Sun is in the 11th. Good for new friends. And Venus and Saturn are in the 12th, so watch out for financial limitations. Now let's look and see where the problems are or the opportunities are in the Earth chart. All right, so we have a Rahu line coming close to Hawaii. Again, we have some potential for volcanic activity over here, some potential for earthquake activity in Alaska. If we go to the West Coast, we can see the sun. It looks like a moon combination. I'm having to veer a little bit closer to the sun-moon combination and a Saturn combination. So the entire western half of the United States is going to be in for some bad weather patterns. California, we already know, is experiencing some massive rains, but you're going to also see this happening and some political problems in Arizona and Texas and down through Mexico. This line right here is a Jupiter line going through Michigan. It's interesting because Michigan, Indiana, all the way down to Louisiana, and it's interesting, and all the way through Nicaragua and Guatemala, it looks like. And it's interesting because I think there have been some legal issues that have come up in this part of the country. And on the East Coast, there's been a lot more reporting on legal issues and on government problems than usual. And it's going down through Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Western South America. Again, Brazil's kind of a, I don't want to use the word basket case too much, but it's really kind of a disrupted country. It's very unsettled. And so is Venezuela, to be honest. So South America is generally in for some tough times. You'll see some changes in government either in Brazil or in Guyana, and also maybe possibly in Uruguay and Paraguay. For there's a Saturn line close to the Azores and close to Greenland, and a Mars line. So be careful, Azorians, be careful for bad weather. England has a moon line, England, France, Italy, Algeria, Egypt, Sudan, all the way down through Madagascar. Geez, okay, so changes in governments, a lot of fruition of scandals in this part of the world, okay? And also, as we go through Spain, we have a Mercury line, a lot more reporting in that part of the world about scandals and government instability, even in Libya over here, and all the way down through Western Africa. Also, we go down to Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, or what used to be called Rhodesia, I'm sorry. We have Zimbabwe is in a little bit of a pickle, so is South Africa. in terms of government stability. And we have a Saturn line going right through Iran and a Mars line going right through Pakistan and Afghanistan. We all know from the news those countries are in really bad shape. And Bangladesh has this really nasty kind of it's a descending Jupiter line. So it's Bangladesh may have some signs of recovery over the next week. I'm hopeful for that. That's really been a nasty situation they've been stuck in. Bangladesh, Vietnam, most of what we call the area around Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and also a little bit into Indonesia. Indonesia has been having some scandals as well in government down here, and so has Australia. Australia has been really kind of hit hard. So essentially, I don't think there's any part of the world that isn't scandal free in terms of governments in which people aren't going to be are going to be happy with their governments in general, unless they're forced to be like they would be in Korea. And even those countries are showing some signs of instability. So it looks to me like a changeable, mutable year for everybody. And finally, let's go over to this big Rahu line right here, going up through China. So where everybody's a little bit worried about Hong Kong and Taiwan, and they should be, to be honest. So, but I'm also a little bit leery about, and I haven't spoken about the Ukraine. Let me talk about the Ukraine. That conflict's going to continue on for another few months. Probably not until April, where you see a resolution, and then it'll be kind of uneven. Moon is running down through the Philippines, so even changes in government in the Philippines. China also is having some problems with its government. It's trying to reestablish order or realign itself, but it's also, at least from the Chinese chart, it's also looking at expansion and distraction. So again, I have nothing against China personally, but but looking at its chart as I have many times before, it's not really an honest chart. It's just really and it's gotten more dishonest over the past couple of years. So I apologize if anybody thinks that I'm not anti-Chinese. I'm looking at the communist Chinese government's chart. Okay, so I love China. I think China's a wonderful place. I think it's just ruled badly. And ruled efficiently, but ruled really, it's really a horrible regime. And finally, if we go over to Australia and New Zealand, some signs of change in New Zealand, we already know about that. And that's it for this week. Hey, if you want to contact me for a reading or for anything astrologically, like lessons or anything like that, contact me at 508-525-0001. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you all. I love you all. And namaste. Have a blessed week. I'll be back. Bye, everyone.